Oh, welcome. This is Tony Ingram, and we're doing Walk in the Park once more, and thank you very much for joining us here. This week's show, let me put up just when this is recorded. This is August 15th. It's being recorded. The first showing will be August 16th, episode 16. So, what are we going to do today? Well, let me see what I've got on my list here. Well, actually, I want to go back and mention one other thing there. So, see my blog at ithacafingerlakes.com. So you can see all of my shows and commentary and sometimes shorts from my shows and other postings at my blog. Walk in the Park is the name of the blog, as is the show, but that's my URL. That's my link there. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to go to some interesting places. We're going to examine some beautiful shots in our gorges, particularly Buttermilk Falls, but also Taughannock Falls and some other places. And then we're going to get into the topic of gorge safety. We have a lot of college students coming back into town this week, and it's still summer, and they want to go out swimming and so forth. So actually, we'll get into that a little bit. And then we're going to go to the Lansing Harbor Festival that took place on, was it the 11th, Saturday the 11th, at Myers Point on the east shore of Cayuga Lake. And that was a lot of fun. And then we'll do some more gorge beauty, and then if we have time, we'll go some other spots. So let's go on down and see what we can start with here. Well, we're going to go to Buttermilk Falls State Park. I spent a lot of time there. That's where I take a lot of my walks in the park. Actually, go back to my hat here. And I used to work for the state parks, and here's my hat. It's left over from when I worked in the state parks. I was in charge of environmental education for the Finger Lakes region of the state parks, and I used to work at Taughannock Falls for many, many years, and then now I live not far from Buttermilk Falls, so I spend a lot of time there. Okay, so with the low water we've had lately, you get a lot of still water, and the still water can be an incredible mirror for beautiful reflections of the cliffs and the forest above that's lit up by the sun, even though you're in the shadows of the glen. So this is all up around a spot called Pinnacle Rock. It's if you go to the upper park and you walk down the gorge trail for a minute, you're in this incredible area of pools and waterfalls and rock formations, and these beautiful reflections. Yeah. So I usually go in there in sort of late afternoon, so I get some reflections off the west-facing cliff. Here's another one here. Really nice stuff. Some blue color from the sky. Okay, so I'm going to go take actually go to a little video now and show you some more of the reflections and also something about gorge safety. We will start off with that. Yeah, okay, that'll take a moment.
Roger, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. Oh, yeah! Come on! Oh, we're not right. Yeah, baby!
Hang on, Leon. Here we go.
I feel I'm doing this. Are you gonna
You got this. That was awesome.
Record me, Alex.
Michelle, you gonna do it?
Okay, so you saw some folks there diving into a pool. This is up in the Pinnacle Rock area. There's a lot of pools there. It's sort of a popular swimming hole area, but definitely illegal. There are signs all over the park saying no swimming. So real party poopers the state parks are, and one of the reasons I wore my hat. was to discuss, you know, the things that sometimes I had to tell people back in the days when I worked in the parks. I would walk along the trails and I would feel obligated to tell people the rules if they were swimming. I was not law enforcement, so I didn't certainly didn't get in it with anybody, but because of the hazards, I remember one of the rangers used to be a friend of mine. He told me that that he once had to pull a dead body out of that pool, and these folks that were there, you just saw, are they seem to be from out of town where they talked, and it's often people that come from out of town, whether they be tourists or they are students, that get into trouble. And they don't know the waters, they don't know the hazards. That particular pool, and the guy that died in there some years ago, he was from Elmira. He was a young man, about 18, and he dove down. He was there with some friends. He dove down and he came up under a ledge and banged his head and kind of knocked himself out and drowned, and his friends were not able to save him. And so it was really a traumatic, tragic event. So what we're going to do now is look at a video on gorge safety that's very powerful. A short video. I got permission to take it off the Cornell's website. It was put together by a student on behalf of Cornell Plantations, because Cornell Plantations runs or is in charge of the natural areas, including Cascadilla Glen and Fall Creek Gorge, particularly Fall Creek Gorge, where there's a lot of students swimming, as well as local residents at the base of the Ithaca Falls and also up in the stream below the suspension bridge. So let's go take a look at that. I think I learned some things from this video I'd never known, and I think you will too. So that'll take me a moment to cue that up, and we'll be right there.
The gorges are magnificent places to relax, to learn about nature, to avoid stress, to spend time with your friends. The reasons the students drown in Fall Creek Gorge is because of the debris and the depth of the pool and the strength of the current that traps swimmers underwater.
We weren't even planning on swimming. Eventually Nate was kind of convinced to go swimming with landed friend, and from there we don't exactly know what happened, but Nate started panicking, and I guess the gorges have really strong currents or something. He struggled. I tried to go in and save him, but he was panicking, so he was starting to pull me down and stuff too, so that kind of failed. And yeah, after that we called the police. They're too late. Yeah, it's all kind of a blur because it happened really fast.
Gorge regulations. Stay on trails or within designated areas. Swimming is prohibited. Do not walk on closed trails or other restricted areas marked by fences, gates, and railings. Violators are subject to arrest.
Because of him pulling me down, I had to gasp for air a couple times myself, so I kind of struggled to get back to shore as well. He passed the swim test and stuff, so it's not like he didn't know how to swim or anything.
The problem in the gorges is that they are ever changing. Even the smallest of falling rocks cause serious injury or death.
We don't quite know what's going on underneath the surface of the water. The water's a little bit turbid, you can't quite see through it always, and it turns out in the bottom of that bedrock there are holes. And when water flows over a hole, you get an eddy, or a recirculation eddy. But what these eddies do is they trap fluid and whatever's in that fluid in that eddy. Even the strongest swimmers go across, and that eddy's strong enough, it will spin you down and in. And once you're in the eddy, I'm afraid you're another statistic for the gorges of Ithaca. So don't become a statistic. Stay out of swimming in the gorges.
Wow, that's a very sobering little video, and very well done, and hopefully it will help inform particularly college students that are new to town or not aware of the hazards. And it's so appealing in these hot weather, you know, like in the parks like Buttermilk Falls, they have swimming on the weekend, but during the week, you know, there's not enough lifeguards, and people go in all the gorges, and I'm sure you know that, the swimming holes and so forth. So every once in a while there is a tragedy, usually every year. So, okay, well now we're going to do something a little more, a little lighter, upbeat. We're going to go out on Cayuga Lake to Lansing Town Park, Myers Point in Lansing on the east shore of the lake, north of Ithaca, I don't know, about 6 or 7 miles, something like that. And last Saturday, that is August 11th, they had their annual Lansing Harbor Festival. So I've got a little video about that, and I will bring that up and show that to you. Hi, I'm Tony Ingram. I'm at Lansing Town Park on Myers Point along the east shore of Cayuga Lake. And today is the Lansing Harbor Fest. Let's go see what's going on.
So once a student has attained the rank of green belt or higher, they now begin intermediate self-defense technique. So in that situation, the aggressor was punching to the face, and Debbie stepped around. She trapped that aggressor's arm, breaking it as she swept him to the ground. But he's made a marvelous recovery.
Fucking checking, I'm just serving it.
Alright, well, I can't wait for it to be done.
It's done. It's over there.
Ours is done yet?
Uh-oh.
Understanding how to practice not only the actual technique of the
Okay, we're at Lansing Harbor Fest here, and I'm with Lynn Leopold, who is with the Cayuga Lake Floating Classroom. Tell me about the floating classroom.
Well, we have a presence on the lake, as a lot of people have seen the boat go back and forth. This is a project of the Cayuga Lake Watershed Intermunicipal Organization, and we've been sponsoring cruises on the floating classroom for about the last 8 years. And we use the floating classroom as sort of a springboard, as it were, to do educational programs on the lake and about the lake. And it's unique. We don't have anything else like it in this area, where we can actually take school kids or adults out on the lake and teach them about water quality. And it's a lot of hands-on activities. You can put in seine nets and capture plankton and look at them on the boat under our microscopes, and you can look at water clarity and many other parameters of water quality. And lately we've been working really hard on the hydrilla issue, which, as some people know, is this invasive weed that showed up in the inlet last summer. And the floating classroom's in a great position to go out on the lake to the different, and in the inlet to the different sampling points and do samples to look to see if in fact there is any hydrilla that has survived the herbicide treatment this year. So far we haven't found any. That's good news, but we have to be really vigilant. So it's a real educational opportunity for the floating classroom to be able to tell people about how important it is to maintain the health of the lake, and we all have to have a hand in it, that it isn't something you leave up to other people. If you have a boat, you have to be careful about what you transport from one lake to another in your boat or on your boat. And just sort of basic information about the lake, which has been really helpful in the community, and it's just a wonderful resource. I'm happy to be part of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand that the floating classroom is going to be here at the festival later today.
Yes, the Handle, which is the boat, will be here at 3 o'clock, and we will be doing cruises on the lake, so people can sign up. Of course, it won't help on this program, but people can sign up and get out on the lake and actually have a chance to do some of the stuff that we do with our educational programs.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn Leopold of the Cayuga Lake Floating Classroom.
You are welcome.
Well, that was fun. The guys at the end there that were doing the what they call kite surfing. I had to go up and ask the guy what they actually called it. Were not part of the festival. They just happened to be there, and it was a reasonably good day, although the wind was dying down a bit for them. So anyway, they're obviously having fun. It looks like a lot of fun to do. So as we all know, it's been very dry this summer, and our creeks have been low. And as you could see in the pictures of Buttermilk, we had those nice reflections, in part because the creeks are so low. But last night, which was the night of the 14th to the 15th of August, got a bit of rain. Big storm came through. There was a big power outage. And I went out to the bucket on my deck this morning, and it was about 1 3/4 inches of water in it. So hopefully that will mitigate our drought conditions. We had some rain last week too. That was a similar amount that helped. So, but yesterday I went to Taughannock Falls, and it hadn't had the benefit of last night's rain. I don't know what it looks like today, but it was still pretty dry, but more than maybe was coming over a couple of weeks ago. But I got another little video that will just make this a motion picture here. I have that up for you in a second. Yeah, and, So it gives you a little feeling of what the falls have been like lately. If you haven't seen them, I think recently I had another video like that. Pretty much the same story. But hopefully our drought is over, and we'll get more rain, and hopefully not too heavy rain like we had last September with our tropical storms that did a lot of damage to the southern tier. But let's go back to Buttermilk Falls State Park and look at some more beauty. This is a picture up in what is called the Pinnacle Rock area, the upper end of the Glen. If you drive to the upper park off of Route 96B and then turn right on West King Road and go in half a mile, and you're there, you can park and then you can walk into the upper Glen. You don't have to climb up from the big falls, as most people probably realize. Actually, a lot of people don't, particularly visitors. But there is Pinnacle Rock right in the middle of the picture there, rising up about 40 feet above the trail, and a very unusual rock formation. Not enormous, but really unusual around here. Go around to the other side and take a look at it, looking around the rock, and there's a trail on the left going between the pinnacle and the main wall, which probably were connected at some time in the past. The stream may have eroded the other side of the rock and then shifted over to the right-hand side and left it unsupported, but it's still hanging on there. There's cracks in it farther up. I don't have the close-ups of farther up. This is looking to the left side of it, and that's kind of cool. And then going down to the right side of Pinnacle Rock, you look at the Pinnacle Rock rises just on the left of the picture. That's just the base of it, and the rocks are all defined by these vertical cracks called joints that in this section of the gorge actually go at nearly right angles to each other, and the stream has quarried out blocks of stone along these joints. And look at that, in the lower left there is a pothole, just this big hole, and what I think probably the origin of that was a waterfall sometime in the past. It's long gone. It's eroded away the rocks that would have been there, over which it would have poured, and left this beautiful, almost symmetrical pothole there, and it's a very unusual little piece of landscape. Now I'm going to take a closer look at the pothole in one of the reflective times. So the pothole is up at the top, and then you can see the late afternoon reflection from the trees on the gorge rim above. And we'll go down and look at another side of another pool. That's a wet. It's normally, there'd be water pouring over this, actually a waterfall into a deep pool, but now it's just a trickle, and I've got another little video to bring that one to life. So just bear with me here, and we'll have that one up. Okay. So then I'm going to go to one other, let's see, is that one other image? Oh, no, it's not. I have actually a few more images here from Buttermilk. This is a weird one. Look at that one. That's actually about the same place except from above. And look at this scoured area here. When there's a lot of water, it comes thundering over right from the bottom of the picture here over the waterfall that's not there now because there's not enough water, and swirls around on the left, lower left, and then pumps out the right-hand side. Someday I'll show you when there's high water, I'll show you that in action, and it's a very powerful spot. And it makes an incredible photograph. What's that dark area? Well, the dark area is actually, that is the bottom of the pothole or plunge pool, and on the right you might be able to make out the surface of the water. So while I was sitting there taking these pictures, there were all these little millipedes crawling around. These were a little over an inch long, and some people might jump and say, "Oh my goodness, what is this thing?" Well, yeah, it's a in their own group. They have millipedes. Well, you've heard of millipedes and centipedes. Centipedes means 100 legs, and millipedes means 1,000 legs. Well, neither of them has 100 legs or 1,000 legs. But the way you really can tell them apart is that the millipedes have 2 pairs of legs per body segment, whereas centipedes have just 1. I think I'm going to end up most of our pictures here with this image. This is farther upstream in Upper Buttermilk, a week or 2 ago, when the water was really low. And so that's about all we have time for here.